guys, it's Michelle from Cozy Egg, and today is Monday, December 9th, 2019. This is episode 81. So thanks so much for joining me again if you are a returning viewer, and thanks for checking me out if you are new to my channel. Let's jump right in, shall we? So the last time I recorded was around the 11th of November. So it's been a little less than a month. And of course, what's happened in that time? We've had Thanksgiving here in the US. I actually took that week off of work, which was lovely. And I can't tell you how nice it is to be able to get up in the morning, have my cup of coffee, read, and not have to like jump up and get on a conference call or, whatever. It's lovely. We had a quiet Thanksgiving, just the two of us. Eric made a very delicious Thanksgiving dinner. And we, as per our usual, had apple pancakes for breakfast. And he made this fantastic blueberry sauce to go on top of it, of the apple pancakes. So we had that. We watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and basically we watched movies, and I stitched and had our big Thanksgiving dinner, and then we watched some more movies and I stitched some more. So it was a really lovely, relaxing Thanksgiving Day. And then the day after, I went with a friend of mine up to our local needle workshop, the Stitch Niche, and they were having a big sale. So you could, like when you checked out at the register, you got to pick a little paper slip out of the bucket, and it told you what percentage off you got of your purchase. So like 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, which was kind of fun. So I came home with nothing. I came home completely empty-handed. I was trying very hard to be good. So I was really there more for moral support and to assist with fabric selection for my friend who was kitting up some things. So, but it was a fun day. We went to lunch and got to go and fondle threads at the needle workshop and all that good stuff. So had a good time. So that was kind of the end of November. And then actually, so that was Black Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday Eric and I spent decorating the house. So I'm not one of those people that likes to immediately decorate for Christmas the second that Thanksgiving is over, but we have an annual party here at our house, and it is typically the first weekend in December. So decorating the weekend after Thanksgiving was what was in the plans. So we spent 2 days doing that and got the house all lovely and put together. And then our party was this past weekend. So I actually took the day off again on Friday so that I could do the baking. It's an eggnog and dessert party. So I typically make, a handful of different things, cookies and candies and, that sort of stuff. So I spent most of the day Friday baking and getting ready for the party so that Saturday we could just, clean the house and plate everything up and be ready for our guests. So that's basically what we did. So for the party, I made peanut butter cookies. We went for kind of a traditional Christmas theme this year. So peanut butter cookies, sugar cookies, peanut butter bonbons, which are basically like, it's a peanut butter mixture that you roll into balls and then cover in chocolate. So they're kind of like Buckeyes, but the peanut butter mixture has peanut butter and powdered sugar and Rice Krispies all mixed together. So it's got a little bit of a crunch to it. So anyway, so peanut butter bonbons, we made chocolate covered pretzels, cranberry bread, and Fannie Mae fudge. And so I did not know what Fannie Mae fudge was. This was Eric's thing. But apparently Fannie Mae was a confectioner, and so they made a specific type of fudge. And so this is a recipe that his mom had that is different from the fudge recipe that I normally make. This one has marshmallows in it, as well as like milk chocolate and semi-sweet chocolate, whereas I typically use semi-sweet and unsweet. So mine's kind of a darker, denser fudge, I guess. Anyway, so got all that made and have a ton of leftovers. But we served eggnog and mulled wine and apple cider. So that was fun. And then Sunday, I went to the EGA holiday party and did that. We have a potluck and then an ornament exchange. And last Tuesday, we had the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild holiday party, which is also a potluck and an ornament exchange. I stitched no ornaments for exchanging. Let me just be clear. That did not happen. I haven't done it in the past few years because frankly, it's just additional stress. So until I kind of get to the point where it's not stressful for me to do and it's enjoyable, I'm not participating. Lots of fun ornaments, lots that I would have loved to have come home with, but no. So, and I did my nails festive for the party. This is Simple Colors. The green is San Francisco and the red is Hot Hot Heat. So fun. Anyway, so that's what's been going on. And of course I am working frantically. We're super, super busy. But now basically like all of my holiday stress is done. It's like it's all front loaded in the month. So the rest of the month, I don't have anything else that has to be done. No more parties to go to. We don't do stuff with family, which is its own thing. So we'll do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and that's about it. So that's what's been going on. I'm just looking to see if I had notes on anything else. I guess that's probably it. So let's talk stitching, shall we? Since that's what you're here for, and not a rundown of my social calendar. All right, so finishes. Sylvia, if you're watching this, you're just gonna have to fast forward for a while and pick it up later. So stop watching. So when last we met, I'll give you a minute to shut off your video. When last we met, I was working on some secret stitching. I did finish it that night, and then I finally got it made into its fully finished form. So before it goes in the mail, I thought I would share this with you. So here it is, project bag, which I'm very proud of, I have to say. So this is Be My Friend by the Scarlet House. This was and I'm noticing I have not ironed this. I should probably iron it. This was like a club kit for Silver Needle that a friend of mine got stitched and then passed the chart along to me. And I thought it would be perfect to make into a little project bag for the project bag exchange that Sylvia and I have been doing this year. So I used the tutorial that Primitive Stitcher put together, I think back in 2017. Excellent tutorial. I opted to, so the way that she shows it is you can do 2 colors. So you have an accent color up here, and then like the body of your bag is a different color. I chose to do it just all one color. Since I was putting this inset piece in, I thought that would look better. The blue of the zipper actually matches better to the fabric in person than it does when you're looking at it back there. It looks really blue. It's not. And then on the inside, I use this great fabric that I found that is little X's, which I just love. So, and then of course the back is just the navy floral. So I think it's super cute. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope that she likes it. It should fit, just barely, an 11 by 11 Q-snap, which is my preferred size. So I like to make bags that will fit an 11 by 11. So that is my one finished stitched piece, as well as an FFO. And like I said, it'll be going in the mail as soon as possible. So what have I been working on since then? I have been working on still Sampler Sisters by the Primitive Needle, and my intention was to finish this in November. Didn't make it, so I'm still working on it, but that's okay. I'm still working on it. I'm still focused on a finish. I'm relatively close. So I had also hoped to finish it before I did this video, but can't have everything. I just took this out of the Q-snap. It's going back in the Q-snap, so please forgive the wrinkles. So here is where I'm at. So this is on the called for 40 count mellow by Picture This Plus with the called for threads, which are a combination of Weeks and Gentle Arts. And so I finished this alphabet and this top border last night, and I'm just going to kind of scroll up so you can see it. This center portion that has all the motifs was a ton of fun to stitch. I really, really enjoyed this. Particularly the lady on the horse. Love her. I did actually change the skin color for my folks. The called for color was, I think, Weeks Beige, which in one strand was the exact same color as this fabric. So I went to a DMC that was like one shade darker, and I think they show up good. So you might be asking yourself, what's left on this? Well, when you come down here, there is this section that is where it basically says, you know, wrought by, and your name and the year. And I had to, because my first and last name are so long, I had to rechart this to figure out how to fit it in there. So I skipped over it, and now I need to come back and stitch that. So I've recharted it so that I can put my first initial and then my last name. And the M's, of course, are like this wide. So that's all that will fit is the M and then my last name. But I messed around with the spacing and everything so that it doesn't stick out into the side and it looks okay. So now that I've finished up here at the top, I need to just bump down there and fill in this section. And then this most bottom section is for adding initials of your sampler sisters. And as you can see, I have a few there. I did add the L myself for Lisa Roswell, who is Primitive Needle, the designer. So I added her on there above the angel in memoriam. And then I have some other folks that I will be probably, I had hoped to be able to get people to stitch their initials in person, but I may end up just having to mail it out. But so that portion will get done over time. But I just need to stitch my personalization here with my name and the year, and then it's done. And I'm super, super happy with it. I'm so glad that I decided to stick with this and focus on it so that I could have it finished this year, because it's a really beautiful piece and I love it. So that will be going back in the Q-snap tonight so that I can work on that personalization, and hopefully I will have that finished this week. And then after I finish that, my plan is still to go back to the Crown Bird sampler, which is in my Socks for Mom project bag from the wonderful Becky. And just as a reminder, this is the Crown Bird sampler, Plum Street Samplers. This was designed for my guild back in 2013. And so I worked on this for basically all of Sampler September. And here's where I'm at. So I'm about halfway done. Now, I say that, but what I have left is the entire house and all that grass at the bottom. So while it is half of the sampler that's left, that's a whole lot of stitching. So I would like to get this done before the end of the year. We'll see how that goes. I think if I could have had Sampler Sisters done at the end of November so that I could start on this, start back to this in December, maybe. As it is, we'll see. But I got half of it stitched in basically 20 days. So we'll see. And And I did change my verse on there. So I think a couple people had asked me for my change in verse, which I'm happy to share, but I want to make sure that I have my spacing set before I share that with anybody, because I would hate for you to have to rip out like I had to. So that is my plan. I'm not going to do, I don't have any plans to do any holiday stitching, Christmas stitching, whatever. I'm just really wanting to focus on finishing a few things, particularly these two samplers. So Sampler Sisters first, and then Crown Bird. That's the plan. So let's talk about what else I have on my radar, so to speak. So a while back, I guess it was probably October, I went to the state fair, and afterwards I posted up on Instagram and on Facebook and said these were the two best things at the fair. And one of them was a photo of a finished Anne Uffendell sampler from Hands Across the Sea, which was the first time I've seen one in person, and it literally took my breath away. And then the second thing was funnel cake. So, but I posted that, and then of course, you know, so many people had, you know, kind of commented and was like, oh, I'm kicking myself for not buying that when it was available as a limited edition. And I was like, yep, I'm right there with you. So as a result of that post, a very sweet stitcher reached out to me and offered to lend me her Uffendell Sisters chart, which I jumped on. Now, of course, this is not nearly so exciting, since now, luckily, Nicola has decided to reprint those charts, not together, but as individual charts. So you can pre-order them, so do go do that. But in the meantime, this arrived at my doorstep. So I am still super thankful to the stitcher that sent this to me and that lent it to me, so that I could stitch Anne, which is the one that I really want to stitch. I love this basket, and I love these trees, and there's just something about this whole overall piece that I just absolutely love. Isabella is also beautiful, and maybe someday I will stitch her, but Anne is really the one that makes my heart sing. So my plan, as soon as this person reached out to me and offered this to me, even though I am anti wanting to start anything new and I'm on a serious finishing kick, I was not going to pass up the opportunity to stitch this lovely lady. So my plan is, if I can get my fabric and my threads all together in time, is to start this on January 1st. So I'm super, super excited about it. I can't wait. So that's the plan. Miss Uffendell is going to be my New Year's Day start, and I cannot wait. So we'll see. But I'm super excited about that. So that is my plan for January 1. Beyond that, I have some idea of plans. It's probably going to involve working on some more samplers and working to finish some things. I think His Eyes on the Sparrow is going to be featured predominantly in that plan because I'd really like to get that finished, but we'll see. So, but as of this point, I know after I finish Sampler Sisters, I'm going to work on Crown Bird with the intent to finish it before the end of the year so that then I can start Isabella Huguenot on January 1. That's the plan. So, speaking of plans, I thought I'd talk a little bit about planners. So, Jen from Corks and Stitches has put together and released for sale a 24 hours of cross stitch planner that includes the year-long kind of challenges, the acrostics, a place to, you know, plan how you're going to fit into how you're going to fit your pieces into those different challenges, etc. And it is a beautiful, well put together. If you have not done so yet, I encourage you to go and watch her video. It's like a 15-minute or so video where she goes through each of the different pages, what's included, etc. And it's really, she's put a lot of work into it. So well worth taking a look at. And it does, you know, it has me kind of thinking also, because obviously I spent a good part of this year working on doing magical stitches and that challenge. And as I got to about September, I kind of quit doing that, right? Because it was too much and I was really wanting to focus on one thing at a time. But seeing Jen's post about her planner has me starting to kind of think maybe, you know, 24 hours of cross stitch and the challenges in there might be something that I might want to look at in 2020. But more importantly, it had me think about planners in general. And of course, this is the time of year when I start to think about how I'm going to plan, how I'm going to track my plans, and all of that good stuff. So I thought I'd take a few minutes and just talk through kind of some of the stuff that I'm doing and sort of what I've been doing and what I'm thinking about for 2020. So primarily I use a bullet journal to do all of my planning. This is a Leuchtturm, what is it, 1911, 1918, whatever. It's the A5, 1917, sorry, Leuchtturm 1917. It's the A5 dot grid. So the reason I used to use an Erin Condren, and I did that for a couple of years. And what I found with the Erin Condren is that I was a little constrained in that format. And my primary place that I keep all of my calendar items, like appointments, things like that, is in a Google Calendar. That way it's on my phone, it's on my tablet, it's wherever I am. I can, invite Eric to things easily so that it's on his calendar, etc. So that's my primary source for everything. But for the purposes of planning my day and setting my intentions for things I want to get done, goals, etc., I really needed, what I really like to have is a weekly spread so that I can see kind of how my week is laid out, what's going on, how busy am I, so that then I can start to fit in other things that I want to get done. And the Erin Condren, being a standard planner, has, you know, your monthly spread, your weekly spreads, which is great. And it allows me to jot things down as things happen throughout the day. I tend to sort of, I'm not going to say journal, but I make notes as to things that happen during the day. Part of the reason that I do that is because I do journal. And if something happens and I miss a day or whatever, I just sort of like to know kind of what happened throughout the day so that it'll jog my memory later. So I do take notes as well as use it for planning, to-do lists, etc. So I decided last year, kind of near mid-year last year, to try bullet journaling. So I did that, and I really liked that it gave me the flexibility of doing monthly spreads, having habit trackers. I could really set it up however I wanted to and use as many pages as I wanted to do that. So I like that flexibility. The drawback to it is that if you want a calendar or a habit tracker or anything like that, you have to do it yourself. Like, you have to draw it in here. It's not pre-printed. So that's the downside to it. But overall, I think that this has worked well for me this year. I'm not somebody that like draws and doodles and makes everything super, super pretty. So I just don't have time for that. But I did print out some things and put in here to kind of keep my, to keep things at the forefront for me. So I kind of started off with my goals. I had my reading challenge in here, which you can see I did not get super far on. Stitching goals, finishes, etc. And then each month I kind of put important dates at the front so that I could refer back to them. And then I could set up kind of my goals, my habit tracker. I keep like my stats in here, like health stats and stuff, like how much sleep I got, when I went to bed, when I went to sleep, my weight, exercise, how many steps I got that day, things like that. I do have a project tracker, so I keep track of what I worked on as things fall out. So for each day I can say, this is what I worked on, which helps me kind of keep track of things. And then I have sort of my new starts, finishes. At the beginning of the year, I was working on a rotation, which did not last long. And then got into magical stitches and all went, to hell in a handbasket. But, I did try creating my own calendar as well as doing weekly. See, you can see here how it started to go crazy with magical stitches. But I have like my weekly spread that I put in here. And over the year, I have started to simplify this a bit. So my setup is not quite as labor intensive as it was. but I do still have my weekly spread. I try to put my goals for the week. I put in my appointments. I keep track of the weather and what the weather's supposed to be all week, what the moon phases are, because that's important to me. Any holidays or major astrological events I put in here because that's important to me. Things like that. And then I can start to work on, that's where I start to kind of make notes. So you can see as the week goes on, this gets a little hairier, but this helps me to keep my brain sort of organized, and I know I can keep my goals sort of at the forefront. I can keep my to-do list sort of at the forefront. So I'm not technically using this in a bullet journal format. I'm using it more as a combination planner / bullet journal. But this is really helpful to me. And so I say all of that because as I started thinking about, there's so many fantastic planners that are out there these days. And, I looked at the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Planner, and I thought, wow, that would be really great to kind of manage my whips and what I'm working on and that sort of thing, and be able to track challenges and stuff in there. But then I've also seen like a lunar phases calendar that I really liked. That sort of thing. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to make this as easy as possible on me, but still have all the information in front of me that I want to have in front of me. So that leads me to one other thing, which is I wanted to talk a little bit about my journal app that I use. So I use an app called Day One. And what I like about it is that, one, I can journal electronically, so I can do it pretty much anywhere. And I'm not having to carry a journal around with me. It's password protected, and it syncs between my devices, which is helpful. The biggest reason that I like it is because I can add photos to post, so my journal entries. I have also set up automation through an app called If This Then That. So for example, when I post something on Instagram, it automatically creates an entry in my Day One app. My Fitbit stats get sent to my Day One app every day. Things like that. But the piece that I really like about it is that I can go back and look at on this day. And so I can see all my journal entries for a specific day for, however many years I have in there. And so it's fun to look back at what I was doing today, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever. I think I've only been using this app for 5 years. So I really like that, the ability to do that. And to have everything all together rather than spread in multiple journals. But earlier in the year, Day One gave us the opportunity to, or the ability, I should say, to set up multiple journals. And so one of the things that I did was I created what I call my creative journal, so that every day I could do a journal entry about what I worked on that day, whether it was stitching or knitting or quilting or whatever. And I could put a progress photo. And because I don't always post my progress photo. Like I don't post a photo to Instagram every day, even though I'm stitching pretty much every day. But I wanted a place that I could record what my progress was, if I made color changes, if I substituted something, if, you know, if something that I was stitching on reminded me of something or somebody, or I was stitching it in honor of the, things like that. If I was stitching a gift, etc. And so I thought I would show this to you, assuming that I can do that. So you can see my creative journal. You can see all the different entries that I have here. And so basically what I've been doing is I put on here what piece I worked on, so Sampler Sisters. I added a couple of photos, and then I put kind of a summary of what I worked on that night, what I got done, etc. And this is typically the last thing that I do at the end of the night is I take my photo and then I post it to my blog. To my journal. And so it's kind of fun to go back and look at what I worked on, how many nights I worked on it, what specific part of the piece I worked on, how much or little I got done, what was going on, things like that. So this is an entirely different type of journal from my day-to-day journal. But I really like the ability to keep a record of this. And I think that, I don't have the Xstitch app, but I think that there's a journal function in there. But I really like the ability to, day to day, take a photo of what I worked on, keep track of it, post, something about it, post what I worked on, if I had to rip out, all of that kind of stuff. I have had to go back and look at color changes, things like that, and you can put multiple photos in there so that you can see kind of what, I worked on these 3 different areas basically, or if I had to move the Q-snap or whatever. So I just thought I'd show that as just an option, because I know that there are folks that want to be able to track their WIPs, progress photos, but you don't necessarily want to, post all of that to Instagram or Facebook or, wherever. But I like having the ability to see what I worked on when, and see those progress photos. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. But just as a different kind of option, as much as I like, paper and being able to, use my bullet journaling to kind of keep myself on track and be able to plan and set goals and intentions for myself, recording things is an entirely different system for me, because I want to make sure that I have it and then I have it backed up. But I really like having, the notes about my pieces and the changes that I made, or what was going on when I started working on something, why I started working on, why I started a piece, how it felt to finish the piece, things like that, if I was struggling with it, etc. And so that's just become part of my daily habit. So first thing in the morning, I do my regular journaling, and I journal about the previous day. And then at the end of the night, I do my creative journaling. You know, as I put my piece away for the night, I take a photo and I put it in my creative journal. And so it may seem a little redundant that I also have a project tracker in my bullet journal, since I'm also doing it in my creative journal. But if I do nothing else but take the photo and, you know, make a note of here's what I worked on, this also helps me to see how many days I worked on something. So it's a little redundant, but that doesn't bother me. So anyway, so let me know your thoughts about planners, bullet journals, what you use, etc. I'm anxious to hear about it. And so then the last thing I wanted to talk about is books. So I finished reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And even though I am not doing magical stitches anymore, and even though I was totally behind on the reading challenges, I still would like to get the last of the Harry Potter books read by the end of the year. So I have started on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is, of course, is the last book in the series. I'm not that far into it. And I think I mentioned this last time that this book and Half-Blood Prince specifically, but I think also Order of the Phoenix, I don't think I've read them except for when they first came out. I have not reread them. Order of the Phoenix I was more familiar with. Half-Blood Prince, there was a lot I had forgotten. So it was kind of like reading it again for the first time. Deathly Hallows, I have very little recollection of. Very little. And after reading Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince and the first few chapters in Deathly Hallows, I think I know why I only read them once. Because, oh my God, they're gut-wrenching. It's like, I don't know if I can make it through this book. We'll just leave it at that. But my plan is to finish this before the end of the year. And then I'm going to see if I can kind of up my reading game next year, because it has been super non-existent this year. But Half-Blood Prince I read super fast, comparatively speaking. So I'm hoping that I can kind of zip through this one, but I of course have to have the time to do that. So that's my plan. And I think the only other thing I was going to just touch on is Emily C. Eclectic Possessions has been talking a lot in her videos about working on skincare and paying more attention to her appearance and things like that, in an effort to work to, you know, kind of do some self-care as well as to, you know, ultimately feel better about yourself. So I've been joining her in that endeavor, and I have to say that even just starting out with something simple like taking better care of your skin, you know, my problem has always been that I'm just not consistent about things. But then also there is, you know, there's a big part of having anxiety and depression that makes it very hard in some cases to want to take care of yourself. So it's something that I struggle with too. And I realized, taking a close look at it, that there were a lot of things I had quit doing, like painting my nails or putting on makeup or, whatever, taking any sort of care in my appearance. And just in the few weeks that I have been doing it and paying more attention and making an effort, not only do I feel better, but it has made kind of a miraculous change in my mood. During October and the beginning of November, I was in a really bad place. And I didn't totally realize how bad a place I was in until, I really started to take a close look at things. So, but just making an effort to take care of myself and sending myself that signal that I'm worth taking care of has actually made a huge difference. And like I said, I feel better, but also my mood has improved significantly. So I'm going to continue on this journey, and I'm making some plans kind of around that with regard to my goals for 2020. So more on that, but Emily has definitely been really knocking it out of the park, doing some major changes, and I appreciate being along on that journey. So, I think that's all I have. Oh, I was going to tell you, if you haven't been watching his Dark Materials, which I think is on HBO, you need to be watching. It is one of my favorite book series ever. And I think that they have done an excellent job with it so far. I'm very pleased with it. I'm pleased with the amount of detail that has gone into it and how closely they are following the books. So, if you haven't been watching it, go watch it. And also, last night, I made Eric watch Blade Runner, like the original Blade Runner, Harrison Ford. Somehow my husband has never seen this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And somehow he's never seen it. So I sat him down last night and made him watch it. I think now that he has seen the first one, we're going to watch Blade Runner 2049, which neither of us have seen. But it's interesting because what brought this up was that apparently, not apparently, truthfully, the story takes place in November 2019. So we started talking about that, and then Eric said, well, I've never seen it. Who are you? So we watched it last night. But yeah, weird that, in 1982 or whenever it was that came out, it was like November 2019 is so far off in the future. Yeah. Anyway. Also, if you haven't seen Blade Runner, watch it. The original version. Okay, that's it for me. I've been enjoying Vlogmas too. I've been watching Farm Girl and her vlogs. That's been fun. It's been kind of on a fun way, like a fun thing to do at night when I'm stitching, is to sit and watch her, 10-15 minute Vlogmas video. I'm having such a hard time keeping up with Flosstube right now. I just don't have the time to watch. So a quick little 10-15 minute video has been fun and different. So I've been watching her videos, and then I've also been watching Vine, who is a knitter and an indie yarn dyer, and pretty much like my soul twin. She doesn't know it, but anyway. So I've been watching her videos and very much enjoying her Vlogmas videos too. So if you haven't watched either of those, go check them out. And that's it for me, truly, this time. All right, thanks guys for watching. And if I don't see you, have very happy holidays. I will definitely be back in January, if not before then. I'd kind of like to do like a wrap-up video for the year, and talk about what I finished, and then talk definitively about my plans for 2020. We'll see how that goes, but that's what I'd like to do. So thanks for liking and commenting and subscribing. I super appreciate it. And at some point, I will have show notes posted for all of my previous videos on my blog. If you haven't been to my blog, you can find any of my 3 blogs at cozyeggdesigns.com. All 3 of my websites are under that umbrella. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Have fun. Enjoy your stitching. Bye.